When Pa knocked the spider god flat on his back, all 6 legs sticking up in the air, the atmosphere turned strangely quiet. The battered body lay sprawled in a sea of dust, and there was no sign of the spider god's 2 wives. Could it be that one of the 12 deities of this world was actually that weak? A being that regularly battled Earth's strongest mythical beasts, and he died just like that? If so, he wasn't worthy of being called a god. Mu Tian flapped his wings in circles up in the sky, sensing the same thing Pa did. The fluctuations in divine energy were growing faint, almost disappearing completely. Could it be that he really died? They won? That fast? Mu Tian was a little stunned. And the superhuman just stood there speechless. The enemy they couldn't defeat even when risking their lives had been taken down in just a few short minutes? Should they blame the Free Federation's superhuman team for being weak? Or should they admit this fat panda was just insanely strong? Everyone had different thoughts. The outcome wasn't even clear yet when Pa, already standing below, shouted, "Let's go!" He was eager to go find his little brother. But just as they were about to move out, a sharp swish rang out from below. The spider god's face suddenly reappeared in a sneak attack, his sharp legs stabbing straight at Pa. In that split-second moment, Po's expression instantly shifted from anxious to disgusted. He threw a green punch at the creature's face, but the spider god narrowly dodged it in time, so the blow didn't land directly on his head. Still, the destructive force of the strike was intact. It blasted off one side of the spider god's neck in an instant. He let out a miserable screech, blood spewing from his mouth, coughing and hacking violently. He'd taken the hit from point-blank range, so the damage was no joke. But Pa wasn't done. If there's one thing he hated most, it was sneak attacks. "You hit me once, I'll hit you 3, 4 times back." Without even a pause, he charged in with another raw power punch. No fancy energy shaping this time, just brute strength. He landed the blow dead on. Bam! The hit smashed into the spider god and sent him flying, punching a massive hole clean through his body, so much so that you could see Po's green figure from the other side. Once again, the spider god came crashing to the ground with a loud thud. This time, it was clear. He was using his true form, not some remote-controlled shell like other deities. That was bad news for a creature like a spider, who was already limited in mobility. Pa knew it too, as soon as he knocked the guy over. He laughed loudly and taunted, "You're weak, so weak you just embarrass yourself in front of your wives. Serves you right, useless bum. Who told you to even get married, huh?" Po's insults were getting smoother and louder with each line. Mu Tian knew this panda wasn't just mocking the spider god's strength. He was also bitter about the fact that this guy had not won. "But 2 wives, can we be a little more professional here? Maybe stop dragging your personal issues into this." Mu Tian thought to himself. Just now, everyone was wondering why the spider god had died so quickly. But now that the fight was clearly continuing, no one was asking anymore. Everyone knew how weird Pa could get. The spider god was sent flying to a corner and didn't get up again. But playing dead wasn't an option anymore. His 2 wives cautiously crept up and asked, "My lord, are you all right? Let us help you." He didn't respond, but the wives took turns yelling at Pa instead. "That charcoal-colored freak is too arrogant. I'll fight him to the death." "Huh! Why the insult though? You wanna fight? Fine. But why call me black as charcoal?" Pa stood there on his rocky perch, fuming. "I'm a panda. If I'm not black and white, what am I? A polar bear?" But before he could calm down, he heard the wives' sweet voices again. "We'll die together if we must. We'll always be together." "Wait, what now? I already have to fight 3-on-1, and now I have to listen to your sappy love declarations too?" Pa was genuinely pissed. Couldn't they swap out his opponents for some fellow single guys? "No? Fine, then I'll just kill all of them." Pa clenched his muscles and let out a wild, primal roar. His green spiritual energy surged, engulfing all the rocks and dirt around him, the power of a man who's been single for decades. "We'll burn all of you to ashes." But why was he still so mad? Pa was lonely. He couldn't take it anymore. Tears streamed down his cheeks, his muscles bulging in frustration. You are forbidden to be in love in front of me," he shouted. "Damn it! I'll kill you all." Just when it looked like we were about to witness an intense 3-on-1 love versus hate showdown, with the bitter third wheel versus the loving couple one. The spider god suddenly flipped the script. He didn't seem the least bit touched by his wife's heartfelt declarations. Instead, he choked through his bloody mouth and muttered, "Is that what you think? That I'm going to lose?" His two wives' eyes went wide with shock. Staring at their husband, his words and tone carried no trace of joy, only pure threat. The blood dripping down the spider god's face silenced his two wives instantly. Did they say something wrong? They exchanged glances, carefully considering how to rephrase their words. "We just..." But before they could finish, a violet-pink streak slashed across with a loud snap. The color looked deceptively romantic, but it sliced off both their heads in one clean sweep. These two weren't just any consorts. They were the spider god's strongest aides, powerful in their own right, and yet he had decapitated them without hesitation, like enemies rather than wives. The act was so sudden that Poe's mouth hung open in disbelief. In all his life, he had never witnessed anything like it. Even Mu Tian, who had joined Shaolin early on in working for the Dark Assembly and didn't know much about Poe's staunch bachelor ideals, was horrified, his skin prickled with unease. Who in their right mind would do something like that? The two severed heads hit the ground with a heavy thud. The spider god didn't seem to care. He had killed them like it was nothing. And as if that wasn't enough, he then turned and shouted at Pa, who was now completely stunned, his spiritual energy utterly shocked out of him. "I don't need them to defeat you." That sentence hit Pa like a slap in the face, snapping him back to reality. Poe's aura flared again, but this time it was different, sharper, darker. He charged, and there was something terrifying in the way his eyes gleamed, green and bloodshot like a ghost risen from the grave. "You bastard." No one knew exactly what Pa was furious about anymore. Maybe it was just sheer, overwhelming rage. This kind of battle wasn't just about life and death anymore. It was something deeper, something personal. Poe's punches were as ferocious as ever, and his roar shook the air. His fist pierced the spider god's body with a crack. But one hole wasn't enough to ease his fury. He needed to tear this god into thousands of pieces. His next blow was like thunder crashing from the heavens. The spider god's body exploded into fragments, spinning through the air as if gravity no longer applied. What the hell is happening now? Even Pa looked confused. Why wasn't the body falling? The dismembered parts suddenly began turning toward Pa, lifeless but somehow still moving. Pa looked left and right, unable to find a target to strike, and then, without warning, the air pulsed violently. All the scattered remains surged toward him, like storm winds sweeping up trash. The pieces slapped against him, small to large, sticking to his body like industrial glue. The spider god's skin transformed on contact, becoming a rubbery, red membrane that wrapped around Pa and ballooned his size into a grotesque sphere. "What the hell is this?" he roared, struggling with all his might. But the more he thrashed, the tighter it got, until Pa was completely engulfed and even his voice was muffled. Only then did everyone realize. It was the spider god's technique. "Told you. There's no way he was dead that easily." The superhuman ally saw the signs immediately. "This is bad," he muttered. "That stuff can take control of your body." And it wasn't just a trap. The spider god had been reborn in a new form, completely enveloping Pa like a piece of mochi wrapped around the soft filling. Soon, even Poe's struggles couldn't be seen anymore. That's when the hybrid spider serpent head suddenly rose from the mass. That must be the core. Everything else changed, but the head remained intact. Its skin from the neck down now looked burnt and blistered, locking around Pa like a molten prison. "Oh shit. I can't take this." Pa clenched his arms, protecting the last exposed part of his face. But he knew this wasn't good. The pressure was immense, and it wasn't over. Bone pillar. A massive bone spike ripped through the membrane, aiming straight at the tiny opening Pa had barely managed to keep. It was a brutal technique, both offensive and defensive, designed to guarantee Poe's death. "This is my cage," the spider god sneered. "You think I'd let you escape?" The bone pillar expanded like a colossal staff, stabbing into the hole and blasting Pa out from the sticky trap. The panda took the hit straight in the gut. He was completely out of control, coughing up a torrent of blood. So far, this had been the most devastating blow Pa had taken. And still, it wasn't over. the spider serpent head snapped upward, unleashing a surge of pink spiritual energy like a lightning storm aimed directly at Pa. A massive beam of light shot from the god's own torn body, as if he poured everything he had left into that one final strike. Pa, just knocked back, had no time to dodge. The beam hit him head on, direct hit, Mu Tian shouted, eyes wide, that hit his whole body, not just the face. Pa was blasted backward, blood trailing behind him in a long arc before he crashed violently into the ground. Yeah. Gods really do get stronger the deeper into the battle you go. They're not so easy to kill after all. And when they looked back, somehow, the spider god had transformed fully into a centipede-like form. His crimson eyes were full of bloodlust, locked onto Poe's barely twitching body, just the slightest movement, and he would finish him off right then and there.